Inside Story Uganda, real source of political updates.
What is at stake? We'll be looking at the odds, because at the same time, the NRM is also making inroads to reclaim places where they performed dismally. Will they really make it, or it remains a tall order that is unattainable? My name is Simon Kagwanjala. I'll be joined by Honorable Ssemujju Ibrahim Nganda, Member of Parliament for Kira Municipality, and the spokesperson for PFF, together with Honorable Odonga Oto, former Member of Parliament for Aru County. I hope you're making a comeback.
Oh, yeah.
You are?
Sure did.
Oh, good to have you. We're also joined by the frontliner, Honorable Bobi, Ofono Opondo. He's exiting the media center pretty soon, and he will now go in the trenches to look for elections.
The timetable is no longer in his hands. If you're going to contest for elections, the Electoral Commission has announced a roadmap. You are supposed to resign a public job.
So he's quitting.
So he will not leave at his own whim. So he now has to be whipped out of the media center.
Well, I actually thought it was just a big joke when you declared here, but good to have you. Are you warming up?
Am I just warming up?
Ofono Opondo will be a value addition to Parliament.
Thank you very much.
So before long, he will be among the beneficiaries of the bonanzas.
Simon, for avoidance of doubt, I have written my resignation letter. I'm handing it in tomorrow, and on Monday, I will be handing over office.
Pretty quick.
That's very quick.
Yes.
Or you were fired.
He's eager to be in Parliament.
If you are fired, you don't write a resignation letter.
Anyway, you don't go back to handover. Just tell him.
Thank you. We're also joined by Honorable Michael Mavike, a former legislator and one of the founding members of the Democratic Alliance. Is what we're hearing true, that it's now shifting from Alliance to Democratic Front?
Not at all. The DA is going to remain a big tent. But you know that the DA is constituted of several formations, some registered and others non-registered. And those members inside the DA who want to contest for the next election will certainly choose one of the platforms inside the DA. And they will run on that platform as an electoral vehicle. But the DA will remain the big tent.
Well, nice to have you.
Thank you.
Is he meant to come back to Parliament?
I think I've seen your poster somewhere in Machindi, right?
No, due to public demand.
Why do you start with the no?
That's very interesting. And perhaps I'll just start with you. What's your take on the way the landscape is shaping up? You've seen your colleague, hitherto a very close friend, Honorable Mwanga Chivumbi, swearing that come rain...
Not just a close friend. Mwanga was the chairman of the Younger Democrats. Maviki was the Secretary General.
So they've related for long. Well, he has declared that some of the vacant constituencies that have to be filled include those of Honorable Mpuga and the other dissenters. What's your take?
No, I think Mr. Mwanga is engaged in a very big diversion. And I want to advise my brother Bobi Wine not to listen to him. The focus now should not be on trying to remove and fight and make competition in constituencies which have already been liberated. The focus must be on those constituencies which the NRM has been winning with unopposed candidates. And the focus must also be in those constituencies which the NRM has actually had a foothold for such a long time. And even in areas largely outside Uganda. NUP has 55 out of the 57 MPs coming from one region. So it is important that focus shifts to the rest of the country to make that party a truly national movement. As you know, I was deeply involved in the formation of NUP. You know for sure that I and Muwanga, actually Muwanga chaired the initial efforts in Njeru that resulted into the formation of what we call the DP reunion. Now, the DP reunion intended to bring together scattered forces, and indeed the results were immense. Once we got together through the reunion, we brought new momentum that ended up in this new formation called NUP. To take you a bit back, we realized at the time that the opposition had been winning West Nile. Semogele won West Nile, and Besje won West Nile all the time. The opposition had been winning Lango, it had been winning Acholi. It had been winning in and out Teso. And the problem was in Buganda and in Busoga. So we assumed at the time that if the West Nile, Lango, Acholi remain voting in similar trends, and you do work in Buganda and Busoga, you would certainly create a very big problem for Mr. Museveni. If anything, win him.
So that validates the argument that NUP is Buganda centered.
We did concentrate. I want to tell you that NUP did not win by accident. It was a deliberate plan, and I'm happy to have been part of that plan. We concentrated effort in flipping Buganda. We concentrated effort in flipping Busoga. And we had the Bijirwa, we had the Samulubega, we had the Mutema, spending nights in parts of Uganda, in parts of Busoga. But when we flipped Uganda and Busoga, because you all know, some people have been saying, no, just 4 months they were able to flip Uganda. No, that work was a carryover from the DP reunion. You remember that from the DP reunion, we had intended to operate inside the DP. And when we had problems with Mao scattering the whole effort, all of us moved into NUP. And the chief architect was, of course, the person who had all these files, and the plan was Sura Chidanala. Sura Chidanala, who had been the organizing secretary of DP, moved with the entire register and resource into NUP. And that was the basis. And that is why you have that of the 57 MPs, nearly 47 of them are originally DP. So, sadly, when we were able to succeed in Uganda and Busoga, West Nile flipped back to Museveni, Lango flipped back, Acholi flipped back. So we had assumed that had we had the North voting as previously, we would have put up a very good show, if not win the opponent.
Before I move to OO, is it fallacious to imagine that NUP still has a firm grip on Buganda, and they can attain the dream of getting to 100 constituencies?
Now, sadly, as I said, there was a problem that the other regions did not move with us. I think they rejected the candidate that we presented. They've got reasons. Actually, at one point I was in Northern Uganda, and we were hearing from them why they did not move, why they did not vote as previously. Now, it is very sad that a region which we concentrated a lot of effort in winning, today a lot of battles have been introduced. You don't problematize your stronghold. What NUP is doing now is to problematize a stronghold which it should actually be consolidating. And that is the worry. While Mr. Museveni is moving back Northern Uganda to consolidate his gain, is moving to Teso to consolidate, NUP is incidentally problematizing its own backyard.
Thank you. What's your reading of how things are unfolding? You feel the energy that is coming from NUP in their bid to hold the grip on Buganda especially?
If they want to remain in Buganda, that's really their choice. For the NRM, we are looking at the whole country. Like Honorable Kika has said, NRM is consolidating its previous stronghold, is consolidating newly acquired territories, if I may use that word, of Acholi, of Lango, of extreme or mid West Nile, of Kasese, of Rukunjiri, which had slipped. We are also addressing the issues that made Buganda snub NRM and President Museveni. Luckily, the last 4.5 years has shown, or is showing every other day, that the trust of the people, the voters in Buganda, in NOP, was misplaced, was based on bad information, and they have proved it all around. For the 4 years, the MPs elected on NOP tickets, you can, out of the 57, you can probably count 3 that you can say have performed the job of an MP in Parliament, or even in the constituency, even if you talk about welfare issues in the constituency. In my assessment, they seem to be people who came...
So you're saying only 3 out of 57?
About 3. The overwhelming majority are people who appear to me to have come to a mango tree simply to pick fruits. And I think the people, the voters, are alive to that fact. Added to what Honorable Mavika has just said, they have failed utterly. They are failing. I don't see them walking back to correct. They are failing to manage internal contradictions, even contradictions that otherwise should remain peaceful. They have made it antagonistic and irreconcilable. Meanwhile, the NRM is bending backwards to ensure that contradictions that had emerged are being reconciled. The issues in Uganda, I don't think was because NUP were in Busoga. I don't think it is because of NUP's legwork. It was a contradiction within the leadership of NRM. You remember that we had a number of top leaders in Busoga who are NRM, who for different fears, I think personal fears, chose to offload all the problems in Busoga. It could be unemployment, it could be infrastructure, it could be issues of the lake fishing, it could be issues of the forest, it could every problem. They decided to offload those problems to the person of Yoweri Museveni. And the voters believed that lie. That's actually the reason why, while President Museveni lost to Busoga, he won only 3 districts. Nearly all members of parliament, I think there are 42 or 47 members of parliament from Busoga region, nearly all of them, save for Subani Basariwa and 2 opposition in Jinja City, 3 in Jinja City, and my brother, Honorable Abudu Katuntu, who you may find it now difficult to locate where he stands. Politically, I mean. And I say this with the sincerity, he's my friend, we are really... The overwhelming majority were returned strongly on the NRM ticket. Why? Because the disagreement, the fears of some of the leaders there, they could not confront, to say, no, these problems cannot be put just on President Museveni. It should be put on the leadership of the NRM as a group. And some of those leaders who are heaping those problems on President Museveni have been in government with the President Museveni since 1986, since 1989. But they refuse to take responsibility. I think even today, if you ask them the problems of Busoga, what is it? They'll say Museveni. Why? Because they think it is the easier way to do self-preservation.
Would you be bold enough to mention the names?
I hope this time round the NRM machinery will not permit them to get away with the falsification of facts. Now, my reading of the rest of the country, NRM is growing from strength to strength. President Yoweri Museveni, if, as is likely, to be the candidate of the NRM, will win.
But can you predict the margin?
I foresee NRM recovering some of the lost constituencies and ground in Buganda. Let me just give you an example. I foresee, for example, maybe it is too early, but I foresee Honorable Muyingo, for instance, returning. I foresee Honorable Nabakoba returning. I foresee recovery of parts of Mitiana Mubende area. I foresee part of Chiboga, and so on. So, even in Buganda, NRM is likely to square up with the combined opposition.
Thank you very much. Honorable Dongoto, what's your analysis of how the ground is shaping up, especially now that the quest for key battlegrounds is on?
Thank you again for inviting me. It's been a while. I think it's 4 years.
Yeah,
since I was.
It's been forever.
And my views are intact. I'm glad to see.
I can see you have grown the beard now.
Oh, Fondo. My reading is this. It will be threefold: Buganda, Eastern, and the North. Let me start with the North. No one should take Central North for granted. And I'm talking with authority of Acholi. No one. I'm talking with authority. President Museveni may not get votes in Acholi. Even NUP or any other opposition party may not get votes in Acholi. Because the elections, as we head towards 2026, is issue-based.
So what is shifting the odds?
What is shifting the odds is that we have 77,000 cows of the Balalo herdsmen trampling our gardens. So people are fed up. People are fed up, and you are going to see massive protest votes. And unfortunately, or fortunately, the Balalo are the president's tribesmates. So the whole issue in Acholi is hinging on that. I can talk with authority. So, Dugo Ofondo Pono, don't add us to statistics. This is work in progress, which we will not take it lying down. It was hinged on two issues: environment, but the president came with a presidential directive on charcoal, which was greeted with positive energy in the entire Acholi, and also the executive order asking the Balalo to vacate. Unfortunately, the president has issued two other directives, which seems to be countering the previous one. So whoever is there in the drawing board, and those who will have the biggest say in the final direction of Acholi politics, is myself and Honorable Gilbert Olanya. It's myself and Honorable Gilbert.
You're now the new self-appointed kingmaker.
I talk with authority. Now, coming to the central, I see a situation where, except Mpuga, NUP will sweep the entire central. So the works of the DA, the Democratic Alliance, that my good friend Mabika is in. Mabika is my good friend. He recruited me to UYD from Makerere University in 1996. Thank you. I joined the UYD and it gave me heights. But these works of DA, the Democratic Alliance in the central, is like termites building ant hill and they think they can colonize the whole world. I don't see the DA shaking Noop's stronghold. There may only be one survivor in the names of Mpuga, who is my good friend, and maybe the woman MP in Mpuga's constituency. But I see the entire central being swept by Bobi Wine's Noop. I don't see space for NRM.
Why do you bet on Mpuga?
I think he's a neat politician, and I think he has the time to really infect the constituency with his ideas and why they fell out. So it will be like the last bastion. I don't see a situation where the people of Mpuga's constituency accept Bobi Wine's candidate. I don't see that easily. Now, where Noop is making a technical blunder, and I pray they make it, is to try to attack a solid legislator like Ssemujju Ibrahim Nganda. Because Ssemujju Ibrahim has become an MP with a national constituency. His views resonate as far as my village in Upolachen, as far as Obongi. There are very few MPs, Dugo Fondo Ponda and Mabike, who had reached that threshold of being national MPs. Maybe we were like 10. Segona, Mwanga Kivumbi, Mpuga, Norbert Mao then, Ssemujju, myself. There are very few MPs that become national MPs and not constituency MPs. So for Noop, for reasons they know or they don't know, to try to attack the constituency of Ssemujju in the name of claiming Buganda is so parochial. It is so parochial. Now, what should bother anyone interested in political philosophy like me is that Noop will not expand to Central North. There is a barrier that we political scientists cannot answer.
I thought the North is opposition.
Yes, it is opposition, but there is unwritten consensus in Acholi, in Lango. I'm not counting Karamoja because Karamoja, Kapchorwa, and maybe Aluz, for them, their policy is Agip, any government in power, they will support. So if you go towards West Nile, the people of West Nile have seemingly accepted what is convenient and not what is right. So as an opposition politician, I see us also losing strongholds in West Nile. So I don't see Noop expanding into Central North. I don't see that. The reasons, I just have very preliminary thoughts. They are not conclusive, and I don't want to talk about it here. But at the same time...
why would Noop reject a popular party, opposition, that has a strong footprint in Central Region?
I think it boils down to management style that Bobi Wine is taking. I was only in Parliament with him for 2 years. Then the last time I remembered interacting with him closely is when I was in the cell, when we were arrested during the Toji Kwatako. So I've not got so much quality time to interface with him. But I think Bobi Wine as an individual has achieved a lot beyond normal, predictable expectations. But listen to this, it may not be very convenient. He will not get the 37% again in the next election. They will not get the 37%. So they needed to engage in tactful alliances. They needed to engage people like Mpuga. They needed to use the Catholic Church. I'm a Roman Catholic. I don't know how a man from Pade can become a Roman Catholic. I am an Acholi. I'm not a Roman, but they tell me I'm a Roman Catholic. They need to de-escalate their fight on people like Ssemujju. They need to engage Nanda Alamafabi. They need to engage Amri Atuboi because they seem to be doing a lot of political work in the East that would deny both Noop and NRM the votes they basically traditionally got in the East. So I see a situation where unless Dugo or Fondo Pondo, unless we can develop capacity to front parliamentary candidates in all the parliamentary seats in Uganda, the way my good friend Honorable Mabike was saying, unless opposition can front parliamentary candidates in all the elective positions all over Uganda, I don't see change coming soon.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Honorable Ssemujju, before I bring you on board, I'd like you to watch the clip of Honorable Mwanga Chivumbi's vigor for a new onslaught. and you'd actually tell us whether you feel targeted yourself in Kira municipality. Take a look.
Every time Uganda has been at a crossroad, the people of Uganda have found it in themselves the courage and charisma to confront a dictatorship. That one we are going to do again.
Well, along the way, I'll also be bringing you another recording where he was with a lot of vigor saying this time NUP is targeting 100 constituencies, including those that are already liberated. What's your share?
You see, the way you have framed the debate, you'll allow me to begin from something related but different. If you look at the results of the census, last year's housing and population census, we have 10 million young people aged 18 up to 30. 10 million. Those 10 million young people who are called youth in the Ugandan constitution are all voters. Only 1 million of them own a bank account. Only 1 million. Only 30% of those young people are in some form of employment. And I'm using the word some form because I have told you only 1 million own a bank account. It doesn't matter how much money is there. I remember one time when Father Carlos was writing about the North, he went to an ATM machine and corrected all the receipts. And he said the balance on each receipt was less than 10,000. That's just one age bracket of 18 to 30. Then you have 30 to 40. In Uganda today, you have people who are considered by labor experts to be of working age, 14 to 64. There are 25 million people, but only 9 million are in some form of employment. The ones who are working, because if you look at government has about 500,000 people who are share all the government jobs, and then NSSF has about 2 million who are registered, but only about 800,000 are active. So the regional tribal strongholds will play a part. But these young people are restless. When you see Museveni stopping Bobi Wine from mobilization, the most recent one, they accused him and his group of being involved in an accident while going to Masaka. And that became a reason to stop them. The one of last week, Bobi Wine was in Mbale addressing a town hall meeting. I think he has abandoned the idea of rallies because they will not allow him. But even the one of town hall meetings, they said, but you had crowds blocking traffic in Iganga. So even those ones we have stopped. I think the demography is going to play a bigger role than the regional interests my colleagues have articulated. Young people are restless. There are no jobs. This economy is malfunctioning. If you look at the budget, I am, as a shadow minister now for finance, going through budget and looking at the issues. You have government employees about 500,000 people. The wage bill, the government wage bill, is about 9 to 9.5 trillion out of a budget of 70. And then the money that the 500,000 people are using for fuel, for workshop, for training, the total comes to about 16 trillion. That is the money that is in the hands of 500,000. And then Ofono Pondo's boss will throw 1 trillion to the rest of the population. He will fuel his car, go around the country photographing himself with the pigs, 2 pigs at a farm, 100 chicken, and then he will say, now I am going to put everybody in the money economy. So these are going to be real issues, even before you come to the regional issues. And for me, they are a worry, because the response of the state has been brutality, arresting young people, keeping them in prisons, frightening them, looking for all sorts of excuses that they have put on a military beret. They know they are not military beret, but they are looking at the way of confronting them. The election in Kawempe being one of those where you got the full force of the state to bear. So that's how I look at this election. Now I want to come to the question that you have said. But I wanted to begin with that background, that these young people, for me, it doesn't matter where they are, whether they are in a central north, whether they are in a you look at an area like Karamoja, the level of vulnerability. I was looking at the statistics. In Karamoja, the whole of Karamoja, 1.4 million people. They have 4,000 graduates. 70% of them are still engaged in open defecation, no toilets. So the level of vulnerability is what the NRM is exploiting. So what the NRM will register and present as strongholds, what is surprising me is that they are the most vulnerable regions in Uganda. If you look both at the recent population census and at the multi-dimensional poverty report of UBOS, almost every indicator in Karamoja. In Karamoja, people are sleeping in one room, because the household in Uganda, defined by the UBOS, is 4.2 people per family. In Karamoja, people who are sleeping in one room as a family are 70%, followed by Teso, followed by Western Nile, followed by...
But Karamoja is an NRM strong.
That's the point I make. That the strongholds of NRM are not because of the popularity of the party, but it's because of the level of vulnerability. So the more vulnerable people are, the more loyal they are, because they need to survive. And this is what the figures show from the Karamoja is number 1, followed by Western Nile, Acholi, Rango, and then Teso. And these are the areas that Mr. Ofono, the MP2B, has said they are consolidating. So they are using the vulnerability because they are, even in Busoga, by the way, although Bobi won in Busoga, many of the MPs in Busoga, Ofono, if you didn't know now, I want you to know. They were in banks changing notes of 2,000 MPs, including friends. On the day of election, they were lining up people, including people that you know who are our friends of Ofono. They were lining up people and giving them 2,000 to go and
for a vote.
For a vote in Busoga. I said people, yes, 2,000. So the NRM does not seek to win elections because of popular program, but they want to take advantage of the vulnerability. But coming to regional politics,
yes, how terrible is Doop's bid?
Where I agree with the Odongo To, my last 14 years of participation in opposition politics, usually a time like this will be time for building alliances, which is a principle in war, that before you go to execute a war, the first thing is to build alliances. Even America, powerful as it is, you will hear them more often than not speaking about our allies. Even when they are going to confront a snake, they want to go with all the allies because in war it is a principle. You will be too simplistic to think you're going to go it your own way. I was telling a friend, I've watched some clips of my brother, Mwanga Chifumbi, who is intelligent. Mwanga Chifumbi was in politics when I was in the media, so he's more experienced than many of us. His focus, the focus of Mwanga cannot be a regional focus, especially in a region where you are doing very well. Of course, you need to consolidate it.
Yeah, but thanks to his position as deputy for Buganda.
You need to give hope to other regions, because in the past, and I want to say this, many of the politicians in Uganda, many, did not have a national outlook. Many areas did not believe that they are worth leading the country. I don't think Mwanga Chifumbi needs to bring that memory back, because I think we've done fairly well, our group in Parliament.
Do you find it parochial that NUP is focusing on Buganda?
I don't know, because Bobi Wine was in Mbale, he was in Busoga. I don't think the focus is in Uganda, but the communication needs to change, because you may think it is simple. Communication is everything in a political season. You make one statement and you will not walk it back, because you can't be a leader of Mwanga's profile, Mwanga's experience, and the radio stations, the television stations quoting you as saying your main focus is to consolidate here. No, that cannot. You need to get some other people to do that. Mwanga Chifumbi, as Odongo said, cannot do a serare in Arua, cannot do a serare in Acholi, cannot do a serare in Kavale. So you are a national leader. Don't assign yourself regional responsibility. You are smolarizing your struggle.
Actually, in the parts of Acholi, such conduct is being interpreted as a biafe or kabaka yeka. They say they have regrouped in NUP, so people are very cautious dealing with them.
So it is serious, because that's what we've been accused all the time.
Yeah, but I want you to look at a scenario where among the constituencies that are targeted, there is yours.
No, I don't want to profile it that way, because in every election I have faced opposition. I became an MP, there was DP. In fact, in the first election, I defeated NRM, DP came third. In the subsequent election, it was the same story. Defeated NRM, DP was third. In the last election, and this should worry Ofonopondo. In the constituency, I was able to, my vote was 47,000. NUP came second with 16. NRM had 4,000. In my area now, there is no NRM to compete against Ofonopondo. NRM is not there. And I know they know it, because in Kawempe they had told Museveni that they registered 25,000 NRM membership in their book. And that's why he kept saying, but I have spent 40 billion. Where is the 25? So I don't worry about NRM in my constituents. But the trouble is not just focusing on Ssemujju and fighting, is that you are expending a lot of energy in areas where you are almost successful, and expending no energy in areas where you're almost non-existing. Because I have participated in elections, it is a struggle to even get candidates for some areas. And I am surprised, but maybe he was right to say so, that the Honorable Mwanga Chifumbi says we now want 100 MPs. Statement that looked like someone admitting defeat even before the competition has started. Because if you have 529 and Ofonopondo's machine is generating other constituencies, and your target is 100, you have actually conceded. You have conceded the defeat.
Well, we'll take a very short break, and when we return,